I'm feeling intuitively and a little troubledly by my heart that the Agni Yoga study is a little bit over a lot of people's heads who have signed up for the class. And I certainly don't want to lose you or have you lose the opportunity to weekly be setting something together that might be of value to you and might be of value to your life from a conceptual, philosophical, and spiritual point of view. So, at the risk of, either disappointing a few people in the almost 40 people that have signed up for the study group, and instead kind of bowing to the necessity of needing to possibly change something when that's appropriate, and it seems like it might be, I'd like to suggest that we study a different book. So let's instead do something that, facilitates those of us who are common. And those of us who in common are trying to walk the spiritual path and understand the spiritual path a little bit easier, more with greater effectiveness in our life, etc. I would actually like to suggest this book. How's that? There, right there. The Teachings of the Buddha. Not from the point of view of trying to indoctrinate anybody into Buddhism, because anyone that knows me knows that that's not my way at all. And instead, to look at these philosophical principles. I was cooking in the kitchen this morning. These philosophical principles that hold true still to this day. These ways by which the Buddha, who was the first enlightened being on this planet, fully enlightened being on this planet, supremely enlightened being on this planet, the principles and the thoughts and the constructs in thought that he put forward. I want to read you one or two selections so that you get a sense of the down-to-earthness, the width, the expansiveness with which we might be able to enter this, and the width and expansiveness with which you might be able to apply these things, these thoughts, these considerations to your life. And that would be what's important to me. However young, the seeker who sets out upon the way shines bright over the world. But day and night, the person who is awake shines in the radiance of the Spirit. Meditate. Live purely. Be quiet. Do your work with mastery. Like the moon, come out from behind the clouds. Shine. However young, the seeker who sets out upon the way shines bright over the world. But day and night, the person who is awake shines in the radiance of the Spirit. Meditate. Live purely. Be quiet. Do your work with mastery. Like the moon, come out from behind the clouds. Shine. So to read this as the poetry that this verse is, and a direct teaching from the Buddha, is inspiring unto itself. But to really look at how we are like the moon, and to, not from an astrological point of view, we could do that if we wanted to, but that's not the point. And no, it certainly wasn't the point when the Buddha said it. But to look at the phases of the moon, to look at the vicissitudes in ourselves, to look at our waxing and waning throughout the day, throughout a moment, throughout a cycle in our life, and to come out from that, again, the variations on the theme that we call ourself, and shine. To understand that psycho-spiritually would be, seems to me, a very good and powerful thing. Let me read you another one. Early one morning, while on his arms around, the Buddha approached the area being plowed in springtime, when Bharadvajra, the Brahmin, a name, the Brahmin, was distributing food to the workers. When this Brahmin saw the Buddha coming for alms, he said, "I, O monk, plow and sow, and having plowed and sown, then I eat. Do you likewise plow and sow, and having plowed and sown, eat?" So obviously he's saying, hey, I work for what I got. What are you doing? Walking around doing nothing. The Buddha replied, "I also, Brahmin, plow and sow, and having plowed and sown, eat." Then Bharadvaja said, "You claim yourself to be a plowman. I see no plow. Tell me, O plowman, what kind of plowing do you do?" The Buddha replied, "Trust is the seed, and composure the rain. Clarity is my plow and yoke. Conscience is my guide pole, and my mind is the harness. Wakefulness is my plow blade and my goad." You know, how you tap the oxen, the goad. "Well guarded in action and in speech, and moderate in food, I use truth to weed and cultivate release. True effort is my oxen, drawing the plow steadily toward nirvana, freedom without regret." Nirvana is freedom without regret, in other words. "This is how I plow. It bears the deathless fruit." In other words, his consciousness never dies. He becomes enlightened. We would become enlightened if we use this little job description here. "Whoever plows in this way will become free of all sorrow and distress." Then Bharadvaja exclaimed, "Let the venerable monk eat. You are indeed a plowman, and your plowing bears the fruit of freedom." So this kind of a verse, this kind of a sutra, we would take up. And, of course, because I would suggest that you buy the book, which you can get pretty cheap on Amazon used books. If you go to Amazon.com, you look up the book, Teachings of the Buddha by Jack Kornfield, and you then go to used, because it'll show new and used. And you go to used, you can probably get it really cheap and brand new, but cheap. So this is what I would suggest. I would suggest that we take this up as soon as 2 weeks from now. And that would be, let's see, that would be like the 25th or so of July, whatever is the Sunday night. That would be my suggestion. We'll finish up with heart. We'll try to finish up. What I'll do is I'll finish up with the teaching of what Agni Yoga is, how to apply it in the life. Because we will see that even in teachings like this, there's a lot of Agni Yoga in here. I mean, that whole verse that I read is Raja and Agni Yoga taken fully into the life. So let us understand how to take these things fully into the life. I hope you will join me for a study of the Teachings of the Buddha by Jack Kornfield. Again, not from the point of view of trying to become Buddhist anyone, but in understanding the philosophy and the way that the Buddha, the first purely, supremely enlightened being on this planet, gave forth his teaching, which is not a religion. It is a teaching and a philosophy that is completely and directly and modernly applicable in our life. We would be wise. It's my opinion. We would be wise. So let's have fun with this instead of struggling. Many people are struggling with Agni Yoga. We don't need to struggle. There's enough of that in our lives and in the world. Let's add some joy. Let's add some light. Let's be a lamp unto ourselves. See you there.